Well, I'm back. Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been absolute ages since I posted a video. I've actually tried coming back. I think it was over the summer. I made a vlog, I think for the Dewey Readathon, and I just never edited it or uploaded it. If you can tell by my cute little mug, I'm doing the trick-or-treat-a-thon this year. I figured it'd probably be easiest just to get back into booktube by doing a readathon and get into reading vlogs, because I feel like reading vlogs require less effort, or at least less pomp and circumstance. Like when I'm sitting down, I want to have, you know, my fancy camera out with the microphone and the ring light, whereas when I'm vlogging I can just have my phone out. So I figured, well, let's slowly get back into it and let's get started on these prompts. I'm going to leave the readathons, like socials, down in the description box below. But if you don't know what it is a month-long readathon from October 1st to October 31st. So it ends on Halloween. And this is the third year for them. It's volume 3, and the theme this year is slashers. That was a big old truck. So yeah, this year's theme is slashers, and each prompt is kind of related to the slasher movies. I'll be honest, I'm not a big slasher movie fan. I like horror movies, but I kind of like the psychological kind of movies. I don't like gory slasher movies. Like, I'll watch them, but they're not the type of movies that I gravitate to. My husband, funny enough, watches Kill Count, and he's like, yeah, I don't really have the attention span to sit through a movie, but it's really interesting and fascinating to just sit through one of his videos. And Kill Count actually does like recaps of these type of movies. So I can handle that, because sometimes I'll watch it with him and I'll be able to like get a preview. So if I do want to watch it, I know what I'm in for. But I don't like things too gory. My type of horror movies is Get Out and The Quiet Place. So there's a bunch of prompts, and then there's also a bingo card. Let's get into the prompts first. So the first prompt, Halloween, read a book with autumnal vibes, and for that I have Apple Crush. I've had this book for a while. All of these are library books and I need to get through them. I've had this one for a while. I feel like I'm out of renewals, so I do want to read it. It's a graphic novel, so I don't understand why I haven't gotten through it yet, but this looks really cute. I think this is a sequel to Stepping Stones. Yes, there is the Stepping Stones one cover in the back here. It's by Lucy Knisley. Lucy Knisley is actually one of my favorite graphic novelists. I always enjoy whatever they put out. But Apple Crush is so cute. It's set on a farm, and if you're not from New England, or if other areas don't do this, apple picking is such a big deal here. I'm trying to convince my husband when we can go. He's not a huge fan of it. He thinks it's an expensive outing, but I like it. So apple picking just screams fall to any New Englander, and so I feel like this has all sorts of autumnal vibes. The second prompt is Friday the 13th. Read a book with a number in the title. Actually, do I have this book? I'm going to be listening it to as an audiobook, and I don't have that with me. I own it. Excellent. Hold on a second. Oh, dropped something. Now just make sure I'm still in focus, because how devastating it would be if I wasn't. Okay, I think I'm still in focus. Stay. Haha! So I forgot I owned this. I feel like I've been trying to read this for years now. I clearly own it. I've been trying to read it for a while, and I want to say I've grabbed this for other prompts, for other readathons, and just never got around to it. So it's Forest of the Thousand Lanterns by Julie C. Dow. Clearly there's a number in the title, so it fits with that prompt. It's kind of like an evil queen retelling from Snow White, and Snow White is my favorite Disney princess. My favorite Disney princess. I love her so much. And anytime I see anything related to that story, I always want to grab it and get into it. And I think this looks like to be a really great take on it. And I don't understand why I keep postponing on reading it, but we're actually going to make it a priority this time, especially since I'm going to be listening to it as an audiobook. I got that from my library. I've noticed that I find myself reading more if I'm listening to audiobooks, because I still work at the library and I'll be listening to an audiobook while I shelve, but when I get home I'm like really mentally exhausted, and so I don't always want to sit down and read. That's another thing why I'm hoping to do this readathon, because I feel like I've been just slumpy for the last few months. I've been not super behind, but I've been a little behind on my reading goals like all year consistently, and we're going to try to change that. Next prompt is Nightmare on Elm Street, read a book at night, and frankly any of these books that I have here can count for that. Doubling is allowed, but I'm going to see if I can try to do a different book for every prompt, but as you're going to see from the vlogs whether or not I'll actually do that. But this is another one I've had for a while. It's Living Ghosts and Mischievous Monsters, Chilling American Indian Stories by, I'm going to do my best to pronounce this. I should have looked it up before filming and I didn't, and I'm sorry. Dan Sesua Jones from the Ponca Nation, which is also illustrated by Wishoyot Elvitre from the Tongva Nation. I grabbed this while I was shelving and it just like really piqued my interest. When I'm scrolling through TikTok, I find a lot of these type of videos get on my For You page, and unfortunately at night. And I find it so interesting learning about other cultures like monsters and cryptids. And I would love to learn more about that. So the next prompt is Child's Play, read a middle grade book. And for that, you know I have to have an R.L. Stine book. And this is Stein Tinglers by R.L. Stine. I remember when I first started BookTube, or at least by year 2, by year 3, I was doing these like Goosebumps readathons that Richard, I forget what he changed his channel a couple of times. Once I find it, I will also list that down below. We were doing these Goosebumps readathons and I really enjoyed that. That was very reminiscent of my childhood. My brother loved these books and I would occasionally take them from my brother and read them. The Mask still terrifies me, absolutely terrifies me. Anything that moves that shouldn't move, oh, absolutely not. But I saw this, it's brand new, it just came out. Yep, September 2022, I see. It just came out and I was, all right, we're gonna have to look at this and read this. I think this has a couple of stories in it. There's one that's called It's the First Day of School Forever. Another one's called Young Scrooge. And another one is A Midsummer's Night's Scream. Young Scrooge, that's interesting. I feel like that would be a really great prompt for Christmas, because I do also try to read something scary around Christmas, because the tradition used to be you read a ghost story on Christmas Eve, and that's how The Night Before Christmas kind of like became a thing with Scrooge. I know it's not called The Night Before Christmas. I'm gonna remember this like 10 minutes after filming. But you know what I mean, the original story of Scrooge, and that's how that story came to be. All right, the next prompt is Scream, read a book that keeps you guessing, and I guess any book can really do this prompt. But I do have a stack of actor books that I want to read through and try to get through. If you're new here, I freelance as an actor and I'm slowly getting back into the industry. As you can imagine, I did one thing in February of 2020 and then the whole industry closed down because of the pandemic. And the industry was really slow opening up again, and it's been taking me ages to find work. And I finally booked something for the first time, like the beginning of September. It was my first commercial since the pandemic, and I really want to just brush up on what I know, because I feel like even though it's only been a couple of years, I feel like I'm starting over again. And I know one of these actors' books that will definitely keep me guessing throughout the whole thing is The Actor's Guide to Self-Marketing: How to Brand and Promote Your Unique Image by Carla Renata. Only because I don't know what I'm doing. And I would imagine like every time this person would say something, I'm like, huh, well, that's interesting. So I'm hoping to learn a lot from this. The next prompt is Texas Chainsaw Massacre, a book set in the real world. And for that, I have I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeanette McCurdy. Well, I don't want it shiny. I've been meaning to read this since it came out. It's a high demand copy at my library, which means I won't be able to renew it. I also got the audio book version that I'm probably going to be listening to that in the stacks as well. I'm going to be listening to A Thousand Lanterns first, and then I'll start listening to this. But it's a biography of Jeanette McCurdy, if you're not aware who she is, which I'd be very surprised if you're here on the watching BookTube videos and you don't know who she is. But she's a Nickelodeon child star, or at least was. And this is her memoir of what happened while she was in the industry, and from what I understand, her mother was pretty abusive. So we're going to be reading about that. A couple of my like library worker friends that I know from the internet has already read it, and they can't say enough good things about it. So I'm really looking forward to it. We're going to take a little quick drink break. Give me a second. He's so cute. Every time I look over, it's like, oh. The next prompt is, I know what you did last summer. A backlist book. And that's usually books that's older than a year. It's definitely not the author's newest book, and something that the publisher is kind of put on backlist while they're promoting their newest books. I feel like the acting book that I just brought up will count, because that I think came out in 2019. This is still, I would say technically a backlist book. It came out in April 2021, and it's now way past that. September, at least while I'm filming this, it is September 29th. 2022, so it's definitely older than a year, and is ACT, the Modern Actor's Handbook. Like I said, I feel like this is the newest acting book I've seen in a while, and I definitely want to see what they have to say, because things have changed since the pandemic. I feel like acting isn't, at least the industry isn't what it is anymore. It was hurt because of the pandemic, and it had to change. Like, I've had more auditions, thankfully, since the industry has reopened up, but they've all been self-tapes. And self-tapes is basically you film your audition and then you email it to them. Whereas before, I would always have to go into Boston and go into the casting office, do my thing, and leave. So the industry is now way different, and I want to see what this person has to say about it. This is one I actually don't have a book. I feel like any of these will work. It's Slumber Party Massacre. Do a buddy read or read during a live show. I don't have a buddy read set up. That might change. I know my mother-in-law and I were talking about doing a buddy read, and starting our own little book club, because I know she's also been kind of slumpy in regards to her reading. And so we might decide on something during the month of October. But in the meantime, I'm probably going to be reading during a live show, and any of these books will count. So I'm not going to worry about trying to pick a book specifically for this. This is going to be a book this prompt is going to be done under the wire. And the last prompt, My Bloody Valentine, book with romance or a couple as main characters. And for that, it's something that I've had for a while, and I think it's going to be overdue soon, so I might have to read this first. It is The Dead Romantics by Ashley Poston. This is her adult debut novel. She does YA, but this is her first adult book. And I think it might be easier if I just read the back of it real quick. Florence is our main character. She's a ghostwriter for one of the most prolific romance authors in the industry, but she has a problem. After a terrible breakup, she doesn't believe in love. It's as good as dead. Her new editor won't give her an extension on her book deadline, so she's ready to kiss her career goodbye, and then she gets a phone call that no one wants to get. Unfortunately, her father has died, and she has to go home to bury her dad. And of course, it's been 10 years since she's been back to her hometown. So she's not having a good time. She's hating every minute that she has to be there, until she finds a ghost standing at the funeral parlor's front door. Just as broad, just as handsome, and just as confused about why he's there. Turns out that is her editor. And so romance is most certainly dead, but so is her new editor, and his unfinished business will have her second guessing everything she's ever known about love stories. I'm assuming that this is going to be a romance between her and this ghost. So it's probably not going to end well for her, but definitely romance is featured in this. All right, so those are all the prompts, and now we have the Trick or Treat-a-thon bingo card, which is like watch a slasher movie, post a pic of your TBR, recommend a book based off your fave final girl. I don't have one, so I don't know how I'm going to fulfill that. Get a fall-themed drink. Let your friend choose your next read. Dress like your favorite slasher character. Again, I don't have one, so I don't know how I'm going to be doing that. Watch or play a scary video game, and read a book at night. So that last one is probably just going to double for like one of the prompts. And then we have a free space. Oh, sorry, it looks like I was running out of space on my SD card. So yeah, so that looks like to be all the prompts and the bingo card. I feel like I'm going to be pretty successful with the prompts themselves. I don't think I'm going to get a whole lot done with the bingo card. This is definitely more geared towards slasher fans, and I'm so glad and happy for you. I'm not one, and so I don't know how I'm going to... I feel like I'm going to have to fib if I'm going to do any of these. Like dress up your favorite slasher character. I may just dress up like a slasher character. But yeah, I guess we'll just see how things go with the readathon. Please check out my upcoming vlogs, and if you want to stay up to date with what I'm doing, please check out my TikTok account. I've listed that down below. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I guess it's ta-ta for now. Bye guys.